On behalf of the Lancaster County Association of Realtors, I'd like to welcome Keven Edwards. Keven is the director of the Lancaster County Property Assessment Office. Keven, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to really help our members get an overview of the reassessment process here in 2026. Many of our members, Keven, have never been through a property reassessment. A lot of our veteran members have been through 1, 2, 3, or more. So, we really appreciate your time. As a starting point, could you give us an overview of your department, the team behind you? I think there's over 195,000 parcels of real estate in Lancaster County. It seems like a large task. Can you give us an overview of your team?
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks again for having me here. It's my honor and pleasure to be able to, give you guys some updates on this. So the Property Assessment Office, we are a team of 19 employees. About 12 of those employees are all certified Pennsylvania evaluators, aka assessors, which also includes myself. And then we have a team of 7 office support staff. So we are in charge of maintaining the county-wide real property database, which is over 195,000 properties here in the county that consists of residential, commercial, agriculture, industrial, and so forth. So we are tasked with maintaining the assessments on those properties, which is then ultimately used to calculate the tax liability that is, the responsibility of the property owners to pay. We work off of building permits. That's how we gather our information to be able to visit these properties. And in the year of a reassessment, it doesn't stop at that 195,000 properties. So we actually take on an additional 195,000 properties. So making it a total of like 300, almost 400,000 properties. Because during the reassessment, we have to also maintain our current database, which is constantly generating assessment notices on a current tax base. And then we are also preparing for the countywide reassessment, which is a separate database that is valuing properties at a current market value basis, the older system. So we're pretty busy doing a reassessment. It's a lot of work for the team, but we all chip in together and we pull through it. We work together and we've done it before and became successful, and we constantly continue to do it. So that's a little overall here of the Property Assessment Office.
Appreciate that. It
Sure.
certainly is a large task.
Yes.
And my first question, Keven, would be, what is the purpose of the countywide property reassessment? Like, what is the reason behind it?
Sure.
Hmm.
So a countywide reassessment, the purpose is to equalize all assessments to a current market value to ensure similar property types and neighborhoods are all assessed fairly and uniformly. And if that doesn't happen, then there's a disparity in values that can be created if too long of a period goes by without a countywide reassessment. Pennsylvania is considered a base year state. And basically, what that means is all of our assessment values, especially our current values, are based on the last time a countywide reassessment occurred, which was 2018. So if you were to build a property today, we would value that property as if it was built in 2018, what the cost of things were in 2018. And anyone that's in the real estate industry knows that the market has changed significantly from 2018.
Mhm.
So that's the purpose of a countywide reassessment, to ensure everyone is paying their fair share of taxes, that there's uniformity throughout the county, just making sure that properties are brought up to a more current fair market value. And that's why we continue to do countywide reassessments.
I think we all support fair taxes. So
Absolutely.
thanks for that
Absolutely.
overview. Uh,
Sure.
when was the last countywide reassessment? I think you mentioned 2018. And
Mhm.
historically, how often are they conducted in Lancaster County?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the last countywide reassessment, it went into effect January 1, 2018. Prior to 2018, the one was 2005. And in 1997, the Board of Commissioners passed a resolution that reassessments be conducted here in Lancaster County every 8 years. So we
Okay.
tried to stay on that 8 year schedule, and things happen in the economy that could delay that
Mhm.
8 years, just like this current one should have been in 2025. But since COVID hit, the market was so unstable, we didn't know what was going to be happening with real
Mhm.
estate values. So the county commissioners then passed a resolution to delay it, making it become effective 1/1/27. So
Okay.
typically they happen every 8 years.
Okay. Thank you. Uh,
Mhm.
if I'm a property owner, when can I expect to receive uh, my assessment notice,
Yeah.
of the updated property value? Can you talk us through that?
Yes. So property owners will begin to learn of their new countywide estimate of fair market value beginning mid-June of this year. So those notices will be mailed out to every single property owner here within the county. When they get those notices, they will see what we feel is our estimate of the fair market value of their property. And the one thing that we are trying to put out there to the general public when they get those notices, just consider, could you or would you sell your property on the
Hmm.
current real estate market at that estimated market value that we're giving property owners? So they should look for that come mid-June.
Okay. Kevin, with over 195,000 parcels of real estate here in the county,
Mhm.
can you give viewers an overview of how the assessment office determines values for residential properties, farms, commercial and industrial properties? Just a general overview for each.
Absolutely. Yeah, so basically what we do, especially on residentials and commercials, we look for sales, arm length transactions, valid sales. So sales that didn't include like personal property or anything like that, that there was no boats or anything included
Hmm.
in that sale. So it has to be a valid sale, first of all. So that data is collected into our system. We look at acreage, square footage, the amenities that a property has, if you have a porch, garage, how many bathrooms, those are all contributed to the attributes of the assessment value. When it comes to commercial properties, we're looking at income information, we're looking at industry standards. There's an industry standard manual called Marshall and Swift, which has the breakdown of what the price per square footage costs on every single attribute, residential, commercial, industrial. So those numbers are basically used
Hmm.
to start the project. And then we start looking at our sales throughout the county, creating ratios, turning that assessment value into a more probable market value. So that is done uniformly throughout the county on basically every single property if the data is, available.
Hmm.
And we look at similar properties in a neighborhood. So we're not comparing one neighborhood that's 300 miles to another neighborhood. So we are looking at each individual neighborhood independently, making sure, that there's uniformity there. And the same thing with commercials and same with agricultural properties. It's the acreage that
Hmm.
is mainly coming into place because obviously there are not many sales of farms these days, but you're looking at the attributes of those properties.
Thank you.
And
Thank
that's
you for that overview
Mhm.
there. Uh,
Sure.
Now, here's an important question. I'm a property owner and I get my notice of assessment change. I see the assessment is higher than my
Mhm.
current assessment. Does that mean higher taxes for me as a property owner? Uh,
Absolutely not. One thing property owners need to know is that all taxing bodies must become revenue neutral during the reassessment. And what that means is they cannot collect a penny more than they did the previous year of the reassessment. So they must adjust their millage rates down to
Okay.
become revenue neutral so that when you get your new assessment bill, your new assessment notice, and when the new millage rate comes out, it's lower than what the original millage rate was. So they cannot create any additional income when they send out the new millage rates when that time occurs. So that's what property owners must also know is like when you get your new reassessment number, you cannot use the current millage rates that are out there now, or you will be sticker shocked when you do
Hmm.
your calculations. So taxing bodies must always reduce their millage rate as the first step in a reassessment year. That process won't typically happen until around the end of the year when they get their final numbers, when they start building their budgets. So just because your assessment value goes up does not mean your taxes will go up. There's always that rule of the 1/3 theory that a third will go up, a third will go down, and a third will stay the same. But that
Okay.
all plays out.
It's important for everyone to understand that it is a revenue neutral uh,
Yes.
assessment there. Uh, Now, if I'm a property owner and I do not agree with my new property assessed value,
Mhm.
uh, can you give an overview on the process to appeal the new assessment and are there any fees involved?
Absolutely.
Uh,
So there are no fees involved during a countywide reassessment. We, the county, change your assessment value, so we cannot charge you to file for an appeal during a reassessment. The Once you get your reassessment notice, all properties will automatically have a 40-day right of appeal to the date of that notice.
okay.
Um, when they receive that notice, if they feel that their property is not worth that amount on that notice, now the job is up to the property owner to do their job to figure out why they feel their property is not worth that value. And on our website, we have appeal rules and regulations that we encourage every property owner to go over because there's some great information in there preparing
Mhm.
you for that process. A property owner must file for an appeal. So there's an application that must be submitted to the office within that time frame. Once the assessment office received that application, you have a little bit of time that you can surrender your information with that application. An appraisal is always the best
Okay.
proof of um, property value. So if someone
Mhm.
had appraisal, recent appraisal done of their property, that's going to kind of give you a fair opinion of what market value is of that property. The appraisal should be within a year, but that doesn't mean you need to provide an appraisal. There are other tools that you can submit to the Board of Assessment Appeal to show that the property value is what you're saying it should be. So yes, a property owner should first file an application with the assessment
Mhm.
office. Once we get that application, we will schedule an appeal for you. You will get a letter from our office telling you the date, time, and location of that appeal. Then at that time, you would show up at that location and you will meet with the three board members. There will be an assessor there as well. And then you're going to literally plead your case to the Board of Assessment Appeal, explaining and showing the evidence as to why you feel your property is not worth what the Lancaster County Property Assessment placed on that property.
Okay, that's a excellent overview. Uh,
Mhm.
to recap then, once a property owner receives their notice of assessment change, they have 40 days from the date of that notice to file their appeal.
Mhm.
Then the appeal is scheduled. Uh, Now, my understanding is the reassessment is considered correct. It's the property owner has to prove that that assessment is wrong. Now, an appraisal would not necessarily be required, but they really have to have documentation for the assessment appeals board. Uh,
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Now, the whole process, when is the deadline for the appeals process to be completed? Uh, I know certainly by the end of 2026, and I assume that the new tax rates, millage rates will be in effect the first of the year, 2027. But what is the timeline between now and the rest of the year for all this to take place?
Yes. So the law requires that we be done by October 31st. So we have to hear all assessment appeals within that time frame, and then we have to notify all property owners as of the results to those appeals, and those notices must be out by November, because then the taxing bodies need time to get their final numbers and begin working on their budget process to figure out what that new millage rate will become for the upcoming tax bill cycle. So here in the assessment office, we must be done hearing all appeals by October 30th. So that is our time frame. So that puts us on a pretty strict schedule when applications come in. So we won't be able to be as lenient with reschedules and things of that nature, especially during the
Yeah.
countywide reassessment year, because we never know how many appeals we're actually going to get.
So July, August, September, October, your office is going to be crazy busy. I'm assuming you do not have a
Yeah.
vacation scheduled in that window of time.
I do
Uh,
not.
I, uh, I did have one question
Mhm,
uh, for tax exempt properties. Uh, a lot of our members are not familiar with pilot, PILOT, payment in lieu of taxes. Can you give an
mhm.
overview of the process for tax exempt properties to contribute, to the tax base?
Absolutely. So a pilot payment in lieu of taxes is a program that is typically handled on the tax and bodies level. So it's an incentive for businesses, organizations, if a county is trying to, or municipality is trying to, bring back life in their municipality or the county, they will offer an incentive to a business or an organization that they will, I don't want to say a reduced tax amount, but they get the benefit of paying a reduced tax amount
Hmm.
to bring that business into that area to boost the economy. They're offering services that typically maybe the county or the municipality
Hmm.
don't have to bear the burden of. So pilots, they're typically an agreement between the municipality, the school district, or the county. They will come up with those agreements. So they're not really handled much here in the assessment office. We get the result of the pilot once an agreement has been made by either the county commissioner or board of
Okay.
supervisors on a municipality or school district level. Whatever those agreements are, then we get a copy of that agreement. And if we need to adjust the assessment accordingly, then we will do that. And it all spells out in the detail of that agreement when we receive it in our office.
Okay. Thanks for providing that overview
Absolutely.
of pilot. Uh, my questions, we went through my questions to provide an overview of the
Mhm.
reassessment process, the appeals process. Is there anything that you think uh, you'd like our viewers to know other than what we reviewed that would be important? Uh,
Sure. So on our website, we will constantly put new information available on the Lancaster County Property Assessment website. As new information arises, we will always post things on there. So I do encourage people to, go to the website frequently, look for updates. We have a set of staff who are very well informed of the process here in the office, and we are willing to answer any question anyone may have. You can come into the office, you can call the office. My team, they are very much, like I said, educated, and we always work together as a team. And one thing I always tell my team is like, remember, we're in this industry when the normal property owners will call in, they may not know anything. So talk to them as if you're talking to your mother, your grandmother, your father, and just break it down to them where they
Mhm.
understand. And that way there's no confusion in the process along the way. So we are doing our part to make sure that, when we are done with a phone call with a property owner, that they understand what the process is. And so we are all about just making sure we're very transparent with everything with the general public. So we are open for any questions or calls when anyone is in need for that.
Kevin, I tell you, I'd like to thank you for an excellent overview of the process, the property
Sure.
reassessment process here in Lancaster County in 2026. Uh, Thank you again for your time.
Sure.
Just wanted to mention finally, if any viewers of this video or listeners uh, have any questions, they're welcome to submit them to LCAR, to Tracy Matroni. Her email address is Tracy, Tracy, at lcaronline.com. I did want to mention that at the very end of the video here. Thank
Sure.
you again, Kevin. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You
Thank you,
as
sir.
well. Thank you. Huh?